Welcome to Voices of the Dead, where these aren't just stories, these are real events. Story name: Old Haven House. In the remote outskirts of northern Maine, far from bustling towns and noisy highways, stands an abandoned mansion known as Old Haven House. Its faded white walls are cracked and peeling, and its tall, broken windows stare blankly at anyone who approaches, like empty eyes in a forgotten face. Locals whisper about it with hushed voices, warning children and strangers alike. Never go there. The house takes more than it gives. Jack, a curious and fearless vlogger, had heard the stories but never believed them. Ghosts, spirits, old legends, he considered them nothing more than superstition. His goal was simple: create a viral video documenting the mansion, and maybe uncover a story that no one had dared to tell. Equipped with his camera, a flashlight, and a backpack full of recording gear, Jack arrived at the edge of the property just as the sun dipped behind the dense pine trees. The air was crisp, almost biting, and the silence was heavier than he expected. No birds sang, no wind rustled the leaves, only the distant howl of a lone coyote. As he stepped onto the overgrown path leading to the mansion, the floorboards of the old porch groaned under his weight. Each step sounded unnaturally loud in the stillness. Jack paused, shining his flashlight across the darkened windows, and he thought he saw movement, a shadow flickering just inside, but when he blinked, it was gone. Determined, he pushed the creaking door open. Dust rose like a cloud, and a musty odor filled his nostrils. The main hall was vast and empty, decorated with torn wallpaper and broken furniture. A shattered chandelier hung precariously from the ceiling, swaying slightly, though there was no breeze. Jack set up his camera on a tripod and whispered, "All right, let's see what secrets you're hiding." As he explored, the mansion shifted around him. The floorboards below him groaned as if alive. He entered what appeared to be a study, a room lined with tall bookshelves, filled with yellowed books covered in thick dust. On a small table lay a leather-bound journal, its cover cracked and stained. Jack flipped it open. Inside were writings he could not understand. Jagged symbols, strange sketches of faces with hollow eyes, and lines that seemed to move slightly when he wasn't looking directly at them. Suddenly, a faint sobbing echoed through the hall. Jack froze. The sound came from upstairs, soft at first, almost like the wind, but undeniably human. He whispered, "Hello?" His voice trembled slightly, but the sobbing only grew louder. It was high-pitched, urgent, as if a child were calling for help. Jack hesitated, then forced himself to climb the stairs. Each step creaked loudly, and the air grew colder with every movement upward. On the landing, a long hallway stretched ahead, lit only by the pale moonlight seeping through broken windows. Shadows stretched and twisted along the walls, and Jack could swear he saw figures moving just beyond the edge of his vision. At the end of the hall was a door, slightly ajar. Beyond it, the sobbing intensified, but as he stepped closer, the sound abruptly stopped. Silence. Jack's flashlight flickered, and when it came back, he saw a shadow, tall, indistinct, and impossible to ignore, standing at the corner of the room. "Who's there?" he shouted, though the words felt small against the oppressive darkness. The shadow didn't respond. Instead, it seemed to stretch and move toward him. The temperature dropped further. Jack could see his breath fog the air. Then he felt it, a hand cold as ice, brushing against his shoulder. He spun around, but the room was empty. Only the shadows remained, writhing across the walls like living smoke. Panicking, Jack ran to the window, but it wouldn't budge. It was as if invisible fingers were holding it shut. Then he heard whispers, soft at first, overlapping in dozens of tones, rising into a cacophony. "Stay, stay, stay." The floor beneath him trembled, and the walls seemed to pulse with life. Books fell from the shelves, pages fluttering like wings, and the chandelier crashed to the floor with a deafening roar. Jack's camera fell from the tripod, recording everything in shaky, nightmarish detail. He stumbled into a bedroom, and what he saw there nearly froze him in terror. A mirror reflecting not his own face, but a figure standing behind him. Its eyes were black voids, its mouth wide in a silent scream. He turned. Nothing was there, but the reflection didn't lie. The figure moved closer with each heartbeat. Hours, or maybe minutes, passed in a blur. Jack lost track of time. The mansion twisted reality around him. Hallways led to rooms that shouldn't exist. Doors opened into walls, and the air itself seemed thick and alive. He realized with growing horror that Old Haven House was not just abandoned, it was alive. It fed on fear, on doubt, on despair. At the edge of dawn, Jack made one final attempt to escape. He sprinted down the stairs, throwing open the front door. The morning sun bathed the yard in pale light. Gasping, he looked back, but the house looked empty and silent, as if nothing had happened. Locals later found Jack's camera on the porch, still recording. When they played the footage, all that appeared were shadowy shapes, whispering voices, and fleeting glimpses of a figure with hollow eyes. Jack himself was never seen again. Old Haven House still stands today, waiting patiently, hidden among the pines. It doesn't just haunt. You don't just leave. The house takes a part of you, and it waits for the next visitor, brave or foolish enough to enter. If you survived this story, give it a like and subscribe to Voices of the Dead so you never miss the next haunting.